Here it goes. It's about to go.
Welcome back to Moms in a Huddle, where no parents stand alone. This podcast is for sports families by sports moms. I'm Jillian Blackwell, the mom of 1, 2, 3, uno, dos, tres, 3 boys. Mac, we call him Big Mac. Jonathan, we call him JC. And little Rob, he's not so little anymore. I have just some awesome 3 young men, but my son Jonathan plays D1 basketball for the University of Wisconsin, and that's why we're here. And I have my other host.
Yes, and I am Erica Morgan. I am the mom of 2 boys, but one of my sons that brought me here to Moms in a Huddle is Samaj Morgan. I'm the mother of Samaj Morgan, the University of Michigan wide receiver. He's going into his junior year this year, and we are excited about the Huddle today. Not only that, this in the Huddle, we know that we talk about more than just sports, Jillian. We talk about NIL deals. We talk about things such as coaching, how to stay out of the locker room as a parent. Whose money is it anyway when our boys start getting paid? We talk about mental health. We talk about so many things on In the Huddle, because in the Huddle, no parent stands alone. So if you're out there, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. We are on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, X. So make sure you go and tell people that we're live to come in on today's conversation.
Well, I'm super excited about this episode. Today's episode is one that's going to encourage every athlete and every parent out there who's ever had to wait their turn, trust the process, and stay the course. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah. And you know what? Even though it is one of those things in which they had to wait their turn, understanding what walk-on is. A lot of kids or people don't like that terminology, but it's a lot of parents and children that are out there understanding that when you do wait your turn, your time will come, right?
Yeah.
We're going to see that in Jack's story today as well.
Yeah, that's what we're calling it. Stay the course, the power of the walk-on and the redshirt year. We're joined by, as you said, Jack Janicki. He's a guard for the University of Wisconsin. Just happens to be my son's roommate. And he went from walk-on to making some major contributions this last season, and super excited to see what he's going to be doing next season. And we're joined with his mom, Stacy Janicki, a former Miss Basketball. She's a Notre Dame standout and just a proud sports mom who knows firsthand what it takes to succeed at the highest level. So I'm excited. Stacy and I have been in the bleachers together for, how many? Is this the 3rd year? This is going on our 3rd year. So we're going to bring them up shortly. But this is an exciting day for me. I'm super excited. I called John earlier today and I said, are you going to watch the podcast? He said, Jack can't make it. I said, don't play with me. We got 1 hour. Do not
play
with
you like that.
That's just Jonathan.
Well, I will say, one thing we're going to learn about Jack is going to come on here and talk about betting on himself. I'm sure he has a powerful story. And that's one of the reasons we have Moms in a Huddle, where no parent, no player stands alone. And it's just one of those situations that when you hear a lot of the stories that we're bringing to light here, it actually becomes therapeutic for a lot of parents that want to hear a story like this. Because sometimes, Jillian, we're in a huddle, sometimes feel like by ourselves, but we're really not when we're actually able to open up the huddle, share your story, because some other parent is out there thinking and feeling exactly the way you are.
Absolutely. And I got a chance, not necessarily see every day, but just talking to my son and hearing about Jack and doing the work behind the scenes and really being ready when his numbers got called. And so whether that's, after redshirt year, coming off the bench in Big Ten games, Jack was ready. And so, and Stacy, from a mom's perspective, she's going to share like the emotional side of the journey. Jack did have other offers. Erica, you and I always talk about, like, when do you stand back and allow your child to make the decision for themselves? And so that had to be, you got all these offers. What are you going to do? And he wanted to go to University of Wisconsin. So what's it like supporting your child through the waiting season, the tough conversations, and then the moments that you see that it paid off. So
Exactly. You're right. But here's the thing though, it will pay off because I think
yeah,
ultimately we think because you have a setback in your minds, it's really not a setback, it's really a comeback. Because some
yes,
people realize that, okay, I may have the red shirt, and red shirt is like the doom word to a athlete that goes to whether you're playing football or basketball or any sport. You hear that, you're like, man, are they going to forget about me? But that's not
yeah.
always the case. So we're going to really, I'm super excited to hear Jack's story.
Yeah,
Super.
yeah, yeah. My husband actually, I think he redshirted his first year. So I think redshirting is a strategic move for athletes, and I'm excited that Jack is going to be sharing that. So whether you're a student athlete wondering if your time will ever come, or mom in the stands trying to cheer on while you're holding back, listen, this episode is for all of you guys. So let's do this. Let's get them in the huddle, Erica.
All right. Let's welcome Jack and Stacy to the
How
stage.
we doing? Hello, hello.
Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi, Jack.
Yeah.
Hi,
How we doing
Stacy.
today? Good, good. Excited to be here. Thank you for having me on. It'll be really fun to share the stage with three such successful women like you guys. So really excited
Oh,
to sort of peel back the layers on what my journey's been and help some more people in the process.
awesome, awesome. Well,
Yeah.
well, listen, we talked about this before we went live. Jack, you grew up in a serious basketball family, like
Hmm.
scrimmaging with your sisters, getting
Yeah,
critiqued, obviously, by your mom,
yeah.
and going to Notre Dame game were all a part of your upbringing. Looking back, how do you think all that shaped the competitor and the teammate you are today at Wisconsin?
There you
Uh,
go. I think Stacy was frozen for a
am
second.
I?
There
Uh-oh.
you go, Stacy. We
Okay.
see
Okay.
you now.
Listen, you had a beautiful grin. I was like, she just loves smiling. I love it.
Mhm.
I'm just going to borrow your guys' words. That wasn't a setback; it was a comeback. So
Yeah.
here I
That's right. I love it. I love it.
am. All right.
That's
No,
right.
for sure, Jillian. I think growing up in a house that just sort of values competition, it was greatly beneficial for me, specifically in the basketball world. But even looking outside of that, it was coming home and hearing what my sisters got on their, math tests or
Yeah.
hearing what mom did at work. And I feel like it just sort of, to me, inspired me to do whatever I do to the fullest of my ability. And if that meant shedding a couple tears because my older sister beat me at Lifetime,
Mm.
that's what it needed to be in my family, and I wouldn't really trade being the youngest child with two older sisters for anything.
That's
Wow.
awesome. That's
Oh,
awesome. We see your beautiful family here, Stacy and Jack, your husband and your two sisters. So, and your sister, Jack, did one of your sisters actually go to Wisconsin? I just want to
Yeah,
make
so
sure.
the middle child of my family, Ella, she just graduated last year with a degree in accounting. So being able to lean on
Yeah.
her for really my whole life has been kind of a cheat code, because usually when you leave college, you sort of have to leave a lot of your family behind. But being able to have sort of an extension of our family right down the street was huge for just getting acclimated to school.
Oh, that's
wow.
beautiful. That's
That is
beautiful.
that is beautiful. Now, Jack, I'm curious to know. I mean, we have a lot of great pictures about you, but take me to this moment when you were young. Did you think when you were this age playing for the Bears that you would be playing for a Division 1 uh, awesome schools such as
Yeah.
Wisconsin, the Badgers? But you were this age. What were you thinking at this time? Were you thinking basketball in college?
I mean, all I was thinking was basketball, and I think you're a little bit delusional when you're younger. At least I hope so. So yeah, I think if you would have asked me the question then, it would have been, yeah, I want to play at a school like Wisconsin. I probably would have needed to eat a little bit more. I look really sick, but no, I think the dream has always been, honestly, the dream for me is always just to play high level college basketball.
That's
Mm.
good.
So I feel like at this point in my journey, I'm right where I need to be, and going forward, just continuing to make the most out of this dream and this opportunity I've been given.
Wow. And you know, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
No, go
Taylor.
ahead. Go ahead,
I got
Erica.
one more question. It's funny
Sure.
that you say you've always wanted to play Division I high level basketball, right?
Mhm.
So when you had offers, and you know, people always talked about how many offers you had, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Type of offers that you had wasn't just you know, little schools. You had great offers. What are some of those offers that you had, and what made you make the decision that it's Wisconsin versus maybe a Harvard, or
Yeah.
I think you had some offers from many other schools. So
Yeah.
how did you make that and say, I'm going to go to Wisconsin versus Harvard, which is maybe on a lot of people's list?
Yeah, I think, I mean, first off, I had about 15 or so offers,
Wow.
being from Ivy League schools, a couple like Rice, a school out in California, Santa Clara, that I was really probably, honestly, I was going to go there.
Okay.
And then I had this opportunity to just play at an advanced camp at Wisconsin about,
Mhm.
I don't know, when was that, Mom? We drove in like June. Yeah, it was June of before my senior year. Yeah.
Wow.
I drove home. I was at a Stanford advanced camp, played really well. They didn't offer me. I cried on the way back, and it was
Oh,
3 in the morning when I landed back in Minnesota, and my mom picked me up from the airport and took me to Madison, and we got there late into the night and had honestly one of the best camps or performances I had as a high school player. My mom was like, you know what? I know where you're at mentally right now. Push
yeah.
yourself. Don't really care about what coaches think, what these players think. Have
Oh, I
fun,
love
play your
that.
best. And naturally that gave me a little bit, it got the ball rolling with my recruitment at Wisconsin. And then going forward, I just kept asking myself, why did I practice and why do I play? And to me, it was to play on the big games on CBS, and it was to play in front of 17,000 people. And without any disrespect to mid-major basketball, I felt that's what I wanted to do. And if it took me another year to get there, then so be it. I thought I would do it, and I feel like I'm doing it right now. So
Yeah.
So talk a little bit for those who don't know your journey. Talk a little bit.
Yeah.
So you make the decision that you're going to Wisconsin. So
Yeah.
talk about your journey. You're in your junior year now. Take us to freshman year, sophomore, and now where you are today.
I mean, first of all, the 2 years I've been here, the team has been really good. Super successful. March Madness. Obviously, we want to keep doing better in that regard. But I came here with really good teams, and my freshman year, I really came in with the mindset of getting better. I was super humble. I thought, you know, if I'm a walk-on, that means, that honestly means I'm the 15th best guy on this team. And like, that's the way I worked. That's the way I thought. And it was, how can I get to be the 12th best guy? How can I get to be the 8th best guy?
I like that.
And, you know, every day it's, what can I do to just get 1% better? So as a freshman walk-on, it was, man, I'm not playing any games. What can I do in practice? How can I help my teammates? How can I watch the game and get better? What are my coaches saying? And then, you know, obviously that decision to redshirt was just so beneficial to me, and I would recommend it to any athlete that sort of has that opportunity. John,
What's up, John? How's it going?
I knew he was gonna pop.
Look at John, like, I want to know what's going on. Hey,
you could have joined, John.
No, I don't. I'm about to go in my room and lay down.
Okay, bye, babe.
handsome. Well, you know, Stacy, I mean, as a mom, we go through the ebbs and the flows with our boys being recruited, the mental state of how their mental state is when they are being recruited. And your baby said, hey, I came home and I cried. And you had to kind of say, hey, pick up your face and let's move on. Take us through that moment as a mother. When you see your kid cry and feel the way he feels about maybe basketball, what does that do for you as a mom?
Oh, I mean, even hearing Jack tell the story again kind of takes me back. I mean, Jack knows this, and believe me, we love our kids unconditionally, but this is also a house of tough love. So, and I think that's actually, if someone doesn't know the intangibles of what's the story behind the stats, and kind of dynamics of how we've told the kids nothing is given to you, you have to work for it. If you did, those would jump off a page more than, points per game. And I think that's what Wisconsin has gotten in Jack is I think someone was willing to talk to him and see the intangibles he could bring from a leadership standpoint in terms of a locker room guy. But, it's interesting because Jack's kind of the baby of the family. And we had always told the girls, who were also pretty good basketball players, having gone through the recruiting stuff myself, the best advice I ever got was, go to the school that you'd want to go to, regardless of whether you can catch a football or shoot a basketball. Yeah. And because you're not making a 4-year decision, you're making a 40-year decision, even though in the here and now, it feels like it's just about sports. So I think Jack saw that. And again, no disrespect to the schools that recruited him, but I think in his mind, the opportunity was going to open doors for the rest of his life was at Wisconsin, not just like the playing aspect, but like the power of the university degree and the connections and the network and the alumni support that he would experience. So, it only seemed fair, despite the fact as a parent financially, you're like, man, you got all these free rides. Right. I told the girls, you make that decision. Like it would only be fair to tell him you go where your heart is. Like this year, Jack will be on scholarship and is in a different situation. And I'm super proud of him. And I'm also happy for my own benefit. But yeah, I mean, it's my thing with my kids is always go somewhere where someone understands your worth. So sometimes I felt like he was the parent and I was the kid needing to be like counseled in that because I was like, hey, if they're not offering you, maybe they don't see your value. And we want for schools and coaches to understand our kids' value. And I think it was just some unique circumstances that they weren't able to, give them a scholarship in that first year. And Jack just said something which I always stuck in my brain, which was, he said, I want to finish where I started. And this is a kid that always played for White Bear, like our community town. He pretty much was in the same AAU club. He's just a loyal kid. And he didn't, in that, again, every kid is on a different journey in terms of the transfer portal. But he was a guy that wanted to put down roots, make friendships, get used to a culture, and just have that be where he landed. And he knew in order to do that, he was going to have to work his way up.
Wow. we both say, wow. That's a lot. I mean, that is. I love, Stacey, you have the fortune, or maybe it's the misfortune of being an athlete, but also being a mom and trying to balance it all, right? So, like you said, you have a house full of tough love, and sometimes, I'm gonna speak for myself, sometimes if you don't have that sports mentality, you're kind of the softie and you kind of like give in to, if you want to go ahead. So I think that's me, my husband more so, no, we're staying in the game, we're not moving anywhere. And so, so firsthand the grind of being a college athlete. How did that influence the type of advice or tough love you talked about early, given, not just, through that process, but of his college, but also over the years, not just with Jack, but with all of your girls, like to stick through the pain, stick through the ebbs and flows, as Erica talked about. Like, how did you going through Division I basketball and being an athlete attribute to the coaching and advice that you gave to your children?
Yeah, I mean, look, to avoid the sports cliches, but it is that. I mean, I loved my time. I didn't always love basketball, but I always loved what it taught me and the skills, the life skills it taught me. And look, I just came back last night from a trip with my teammates who have now known for 31 years, and they all live in different parts of the country, and we get together once a year and have some fun. And I think Jack's seen it too, where that's where it's really important, because no one remembers how many points you scored or whether you started or came off the bench. But I think, again, like my experience, he was able to kind of hear and see firsthand how me making the right choice from a culture fit standpoint, from an academic standpoint, was the thing that has served me the best in, my career, my life. Obviously it worked out. I met Jack's dad when I was like 19 at school. So I'm glad I made that decision. But a stick to itness. Look, I think I love how as a society we're being much more self-aware about mental health, anxiety. Social media is obviously a little late, it doesn't add to it, but I also think there's something to be said for kids understanding that when going gets hard and gets tough, you need to work through it and break those muscles and build up resilience, because and as parents, we got to let our kids figure that out. For as much as we want to jump in and help them, we can't do it. So yeah, I mean, like your instinct is when a kid's calling you and they're crying or they're kind of questioning things, it sounds a little bit cold comfort at the time, but you're going to be stronger for this, right?
Yeah, and I'll just build off what my mom was saying with that. I just feel like, she was so demanding with us, but at the same time, very hands off.
Oh, wow.
And I'm grateful that she wasn't as like a helicopter parent in the way that I feel like I see that happening a lot, especially with kids that are a little bit younger than me. Like, just for an example, like if I had a problem with class, like my parents would never email a teacher. If I had a problem with a coach or a teammate on a team, it was just sort of like be an adult in the way you handle yourself. And I just think that doing little things like that and letting me handle things at the time that I don't want to handle has made just the transition into life by myself way, way easier.
Wow. Well, let's get a little real here. And I'm going to ask a tough question for Mom and you, Jack.
Okay.
You come on as a walk-on and you see maybe 15 other kids or other kids that went and they were offered, and you're like, I'm here. At any point on the inside of your heart, did you say, man, I don't have a scholarship, I'm better than that kid, or I'm better than this kid, or I feel like, because here's the thing, as much as we want to sit here as parents, there are moments in my life that I'm just like, wait a minute. Now, I've spoken with moms that said, my kid is better than that kid, and that kid got a scholarship, and then they're not working as hard as my kid is. Come on. That's where the realness come in as being mom on the outside saying, now wait a minute. And it's not that you're comparing in a negative way. You may just be comparing in athletics, at how athletic they are. Maybe they don't hustle for the ball as hard. But did you have that moment of saying, I'm worth so much more than a walk-on status at this time?
I mean, my freshman year,
I'll get to you, Stacey. I see that smile over here. Go ahead, Jack.
I mean, my freshman year, to be honest, I sort of knew what I signed up for. How I began saying, 15 to 12 to 8. But yeah, even that year, there's thoughts of, man, I'm getting kind of good. Or last year, I'm playing, like literally playing as a walk-on, thinking, man, I'm a redshirt freshman walk-on playing right now. Things are a little bit ahead of schedule. But, that question of like, am I getting mad about just maybe feeling like I should deserve more? It's easy to say yes, because in my shoes, it's really easy to say like, man, I'm better than him. Why is he making blah, blah, blah? Why is he getting these opportunities? But really, I think our coaching staff did such a good job of just, treating me as if I never was a walk-on. And
I love that.
I don't think anyone on the team or any coaching staff really thought about that or thought of me that way. So yeah, there's definitely moments of not quite jealousy, but like, man, what's going on? But at the same time, it's hard to predict what's going to happen in the future. And as a coaching staff, I'm sure they looked at me as sort of an investment that panned out a little bit quicker than they thought. Which I completely get. And so it's hard for me to say that I was resentful, because I honestly wasn't. But I think those thoughts can be healthy in terms of how they motivate you and how it drives you to work. But I think for the sake of my health and for the sake of our team's health, allowing that jealousy to creep in, even if it's warranted, it's probably not worth it.
I like that, Jack. And Mom, what did you feel about that? Same question.
Yeah. Well, no, I think a couple things. I always remember that we only see the 2 minutes a kid's out on the court and maybe has a turnover or makes 2 shots. We don't see the hours upon hours that they're evaluating kids in practice, right?
Yeah.
So I always, it's a little bit hard. Jack has a better sense for where he's stacking up than I do from watching, game film.
That's good. That's good.
I think the advice, and Jack probably remembers I've said this to him several times in the few minutes and few moments, and it hasn't been many, when he's called and said, I think I can be that guy. I think I can offer this team more. I oftentimes have reminded him, you chose this path. Chose this path, and you knew that, like, had you gone to Loyola, to any of these other schools that have recruited him, Harvard, Santa Clara, he would have been a first or second or third option quicker. And so a journey to get there. And just to remind him, of course, anytime I say, remember, you're on schedule, he'll say, well, that's your schedule. And I'm like, good. And what I like it when I hear him say that is it means he's not done betting on himself. He's not done competing. He's not done getting better. I'll probably have to say it to him a couple more times this year. Right, Jack?
Yeah. I hope
so.
So.
Yeah. Oh, and what I love, I hear, not only that you bet on yourself, Jack, but also I think what I saw is the coaching staff bet on you, and then you had a instant bond with your teammates, and that's not something you can manufacture. Whether you're number 15, number 5, number 2, you are a part of the team, and so regardless if there's a stamp on walk-in or whatever, you are a major part of the team. And so I love how you brought up that your coaches saw, and I love what you said, Stacey, that we only see a snapshot. And and what I would say to parents, and I'm guilty of it, is that we often say, and this is what Eric and I say, sometimes we as parents we need to stay out the locker room and let coaches coach and let them play the game. And we travel up from Michigan to Wisconsin, and to want to see a good game. But if our kids don't get enough time, the coaches know what they're doing, right? And so I love that it's a whole huddle with the team. And it's not just Jack standing on his own. It is the coach that's developing them when we don't see them playing. It's all the hard work that Jack has put in. When the cameras aren't on, you talked about playing in front of 17,000 people. It's the preparation before you get on, before you play in front of the 17,000. So I love the fact that it is a team effort 100%. On and off the court.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And I think that one of the things is people believe or think that walk-ons, even with football, I know my son plays football primarily, from the walk-ons to the second string or third strings, that they don't matter, but they're the ones that learn the plays of the other team. So where how to work against these teams when you get out there, and you guys have a lot of that stuff because you're learning the scheme of the team and the scheme of the other team to know what to do to play against these people. So I love the fact that when you have that heart that you have, Jack, you seem like you have a great heart, but don't shortchange Jack, because from what I'm hearing, I saw some information about you had some viral moments, right? Like with the infamous Bronny James crossover at an AAU tournament. So
that was the first
Jack,
one.
y'all.
Yeah, that was the first one.
Tell us about that, Jack, because people don't know that. You're a walk-on, but listen, you making people do some stuff out here. Jack.
Yeah, I mean, there was some viral moments this year. Probably the most viral one was I broke my tooth.
Yes.
Which has nothing to do with playing. Yeah, but no, I think there's a lot of moments that just playing here, like you just naturally, there are so many moments that come up, and it's just like, wow, that was so cool. A tooth being broke, dunking on someone.
You was in the paint with that one then, Jack. Where you was in the paint with it.
Playing in the biggest stadiums and the biggest games you could think of, and meeting the people that you could meet. It's just, it's another reason why I'm just happy with the choice I made.
That's awesome.
And we're happy with your choice you made. So I want to talk about your role last season. Again, you weren't just a practice body. You actually played, I think it was all 37 games. You made some key plays against teams like Purdue, Arizona. I can't remember the team. Was it Purdue when you lost your tooth? I can't remember.
Purdue was a good game. I lost my tooth actually at home
at
in
home.
Minnesota. Yeah.
Okay. So how did you mentally handle the roller coaster of inconsistent minutes and still show up when your number was called? Because again, 37 games is great. You got a lot of time on the court. You're going to do some amazing things in 2025. But how did you mentally handle that? And the reason why we talk about mental is we had an episode last week, or maybe two. Was it last week? Last week about mental health, and people don't take that in consideration. And so, you're building your body and you're building your muscle. You stay in the gym. I see my son, but how are you building your mental capacity to last year to handle some of the ebbs and flows?
Yeah, no, last year was probably the most strenuous year in my life, just in terms of just balancing so much. And like you said, mental health aspects. My mom knows all about this. Like, the role I was in last year, as sort of happy I was with it, it's a tough role to play. Playing anywhere from, 8 on a bad day, wondering when am I going to get in, or 20 or 22 on the very best of days, and you feel on top of the world. And I was sort of victim of getting a little too low and a little too high at some points, and I'm not afraid to admit that. But I think going forward this year, I think my mind is going to be what sort of needs to take the next jump. And I think part of that will be experience, and part of that will be very intentional with the way I use self-talk and the way I treat my mind and my body and the way I eat, and just kind of turning more into a professional with this whole thing.
Yeah.
But I think you're completely right. I think the first step to feeling that sort of confidence, or, as athletes say, is getting in that flow state. Whenever I'm in that flow state, there seems to be nothing going through my mind. And I think it's so easy to just get the wheels rolling on negative self-talk. We've all had our moments with it.
Right.
We all have had those moments, and one thought can turn into 10, and 10 thoughts makes you think it's real. But it's not, because 70% of what we say in our brain is usually a lie. So just being more aware of where my thoughts take me and being able to stop them will actually help me just be calm and in a calming presence on the court. And I think as I just get more experienced and my skill continues to develop the way it should and the way it has at this university with these coaches, getting that mental state really locked down is what's going to, make me into the player that I want to be for this next season.
Awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome, Jack. I mean, you seem like such a tough kid. I don't know a lot of kids that would have went through what you went through with grace, the way that it seems like you've been going through this with mom and your family helping you out. So when you're sitting on that bench and you're waiting for your number to be called, how do you feel on the inside? And that number is called and you go out there. Take me to that first moment when you said, "Oh my gosh, they called my number and I'm going out there." The very first moment. How did you feel? How did you feel on that day? I
mean, there's just so many little checkpoint parts of the season, but that first time going into any game is, it's honestly different game to game. But I will say there are just non-negotiables every time you take the court, and every time you play, there needs to be energy and passion and competitiveness.
Absolutely.
Those three things allow your body to just sort of take over and do the sport you've been designed and worked your whole life to play. So when I take the court, it's, man, what can I do without the ball? How can I help guys like John, guys like Nolan feel more comfortable? And I think I'm really excited this year to just see how John Blackwell has progressed as a player and how I can help him sort of play off the ball a little bit more. I think we do a lot of really good things on the court when we're together, the way he cuts and the way I can pass, and just building on little connections like that. And fans probably don't think about that stuff as much as they see like a game where I have 12 or 15 points. But I think our whole locker room and anyone who knows the game knows that if you're out there for 3 minutes and you don't score a point, you can still change the tide of a game.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now that's awesome.
Yeah. So I just want to shift a little bit. I want to go back to you, Stacey. You've been very vocal about the impact of Title IX. Even I think you got a tattoo. Is that correct?
I do. Yeah, I do have a title.
Yes.
Hmm.
So how did that legislation like influence how you raised your kids, especially watching Jack and your daughters like navigate sports at the highest level, at a high level in college?
That legislation, which actually last week was the anniversary of it. I believe it's now 52 years old, and I'm right around the same age. So my parents were both public school teachers, and I just know, had I not had that opportunity through sports, I probably would not have had the opportunity to go to Notre Dame, even if I was academically, smart and did all the things. But my dad always said to me something which is really interesting, because the final schools I was looking at were like Northwestern and Stanford and Notre Dame, which was this. It's like, if someone's offering you to buy a car, pick out the most expensive car they're offering to buy you. And his point was like, at the time there was no pro basketball for women, so he said, this is gonna set you up for life. So take advantage of this and make the right decision and focus on academics. So, but that all being said, Title IX was the thing that was like the catalyst for all of that. And you can talk about the sports opportunities and the scholarships, but what it did that I think people lose sight of is, like when I was, a young kid in the 70s and the 80s, there was only like, 20% of young girls that were playing sports. Now something like 70% of young girls play sports. Now, maybe only 1% to 2% of those will play at a college level, but all of those kids that take a field, a court, an arena, they're all learning the intangibles that come from being part of sports. Absolutely. Teamwork, setting goals, dealing with adversity. And I think that's the thing, as you now see women in boardroom positions and running companies. A lot, I would guess a lot of those women have learned a lot of their mindset has come from being out on a field or a court. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just what it's the sense of empowerment it's given people.
Wow. No, that's amazing. I'm not going to say my age, but I know some people who like you benefited from that legislation. I'm glad it's still around. It's still sticking around. I'm sorry, Erica, I interrupted you. You were going to ask a question.
No, I'm proud of my age. I'm 47. I'm 3 years away from 50. But I will say, hearing that a part of dealing with the Title IX and with women in sports and different things like that, I don't know. How do you feel like how do you feel it's curved now, like in the landscape that it is now? Do you still think that when you played sports back then, you had the opportunity? Did you wish you had the opportunity to get paid like some of the young girls are getting paid now in their sports?
Oh, yeah, I mean, for sure.
Wow.
I would. But it's interesting. I'm in advertising and marketing now, and we were working with a client, H&R Block at the time, and this was like literally right after the NIL legislation passed, and they wanted what we had found a stat that said, despite the fact that female athletes in college had, in some cases, larger followings and engagement rates in social media, they were vastly underrepresented on an NIL deal. So they were getting, I think men were getting 73% of the NIL dollars. Now I'm not talking about collective. I'm talking about partnerships. And so we decided to work with them to give $1 million away to female athletes, and not just teach them, not just give them NIL dollars, but teach them about taxes, because that was H&R Block, right? Because none of these athletes know what to do when they get the tax bill. So
absolutely.
We signed Caitlin Clark to her first NIL deal, and it was really, at the time, we were talking to her uncle, and now she's got an agent and all the things. But that was 4 years ago, and you see now how it's moving at the speed of light. And I think at some point there's going to be some guardrails moving forward, because I just don't think it's sustainable. And honestly, like coming back to your question, my concern is that, we build up one or two sports in lieu of these, what I'll call varsity athletics, like university athletic, like swimming and track and field and lacrosse and
Olympic sports. Yeah.
What's going to happen with Olympic sports when they're not getting, all the money's getting funneled away. So you hope it doesn't have a reverse effect. But I think I would have loved to get a paycheck. I remember back then the NCAA rule was you couldn't even take a job. And I used a junker car to have on campus. And so I had to take a Pell Grant, even though I was on full ride, just to buy a Cutlass Sierra, just to get point A to point B, and had to pay that off after school. So yeah, it's changed. I'm glad it's changed. But I also think probably some guardrails will be needed at some point.
And I think they tried to do that with House v. NCAA. They're trying to do that. I know it's a lot of what I'm trying to say. It's a lot of opinions out there about it. What makes me happy is that Jack Samaj, which is my son John, can get paid for playing a sport that their school is getting paid for, that the media is getting paid for, their name, their image, their likeness, whether you are a girl or a boy. And in my opinion, I don't think it should be capped, because you shouldn't tell me how much I'm worth as an athlete, or a company is going to tell me I'll pay you a certain amount to represent our brand. So I do think that, because it's so crazy, because most of the sports that's out there is basketball and football. That's like the big money makers at a lot of schools, right? So everyone else do kind of fall by the wayside, but hopefully we will get to that equilibrium, which I don't think we may. But I will say what you just said, Stacey, that's huge, because Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, and they brought basketball for women to the forefront.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
And so to see that happen, and the respect that they're getting, and hopefully the salaries of women in WNBA will increase like it is with the men. But that's awesome. And Jack, I saw you shake your head when your mom was talking. You was like,
well, I think she said something about limiting or capping money, and I think we'll maybe start that after I graduate.
100%.
Yeah. And that's after you pay me back for that first year when you were.
Yeah, it's coming. It's on the way. It's on the way.
I love it. I love it.
That's a good question. I'm sorry. I just got
Yeah.
Your mom said you're gonna pay her back. So whose money? I just want to ask the question, because we're gonna have a show. Whose money is it anyway now with your NIL deal, Jack? Who do you think that money?
This might not be the best place to negotiate that, but no. If she paid, she helped me out for 2 years. I'm definitely going to help her.
Wait a minute, not 2 years back.
Yeah.
His sisters don't.
Yes. She's helped me for more than 2 years. Yeah. But in the context of
his sisters were like, no, we were on the, you were on the hook for us. So like,
Jack
had his dues too. So all right. I can
we'll talk about it, Mom. We'll talk about it.
Right.
Awesome, Jack.
He sounds like Jonathan. So when we think about, you guys are back on campus, you're practicing, you're in the gym. You made an announcement on Instagram, and you said this quote: "Grass is greener where you water it." Mm-hmm. And that was a powerful statement. Why did you choose to announce your return for next season in that way? Like, why those words?
Yeah. One of our social media guy had an idea, and just saying something more. Like, I think like I'm back or something, and I was like, why don't we just say this? I kind of like this, and we're gonna continue to water it. We played 8 games of open gym today. We lifted. I'm gonna go shoot after this call. So whatever has got us here, we're gonna have to continue to keep doing that. And I think we got a good group of guys on and off the court. And I'm excited to really get going with this group. That's
awesome. Yeah. I'm curious, what is your major, Jack? What's your major?
I'm currently in finance, investment, and banking. And, I've spent the last 2 weeks thinking more deeply about what I want to do. I think tomorrow I'm going to go in to this real estate company and just shadow one of the bigger real estate agents in Madison for a day.
I'm sorry. Are you taking your roommate with you?
John, John might not be as interested, but I can connect him to the real estate agent if he wants to work it.
Drag him with you.
Mom, like, listen, connect.
No, exactly. I went to this Big Ten leadership thing about 2 weeks ago, and it really opened my eyes. I was with about 100 of the best, student athletes in the Big Ten, and they gave us an opportunity to network with each other and professionals from the Chicago area. And I think as I enter my junior year academically, it's like, why wait? Start to figure out what you don't like, what you do like. There's literally nothing that can go wrong with trying it out. And my mom sort of, before I left for school, sort of gave me that same advice. Just, man, go try things this summer, go meet new people, go on dates, go try this work, do that. Like, just sort of.
Did you? I'm sorry. Say go on dates.
Right, you just kind of went past that, go on dates. Wait a minute, hold up.
We're gonna fly past that too. Next question.
Let's reel that back in.
Yeah, Stacy, see, Mom's in the Huddle.
We hear everything. We hear everything, Jack.
Like your mama.
She said it. She said
like that, and then
I love that.
We just gonna be like, oh, we just gonna fly past that.
No.
Who's the girl, Jack?
No girl.
That's what she said. That's why she said go on dates. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole nother episode. That's a conversation.
We probably need another hour.
The theme behind that, right? Like, just to kind of bring it back around, was these kids are so immersed in basketball or football or whatever sports.
Yes.
And I think that's when they get inside their head. So the more you can give yourself exposure to, like, leaning into school when it's a school thing, starting to network with professionals, meeting friends that maybe aren't athletes.
Love that.
Just understanding different life experiences. It'll give you other things to focus on and not just be so myopic on that sport. And also, I think it just makes you a more well-rounded person, right? So, sometimes you have to get outside of your own way and not in, like, kind of just try new things, go to the movies, do whatever. I might have said maybe go on a date or two, but more just to, like, that notion of find other things. Because, right, like, much like our own careers, everything's not always 10 for 10. So if you have other things to major and minor in, to be like, okay, if this isn't feeling 100%, then I'm going to lean into my friends, or I'm going to lean into school. It just really helps you with some coping strategies.
Yeah, because there's life outside of you're not just a basketball player, Jack, that played for the University of Wisconsin. You're Jack Janicki. Even before you got there, you were someone that had hobbies, had things like your mom is saying. Yep. I like that, Stacey.
And like my mom said, it's a 40-year decision, and even the best basketball players in the world, time's undefeated. So I just want to stay ready and stay sharp in other aspects of my life.
Yeah. No, that's great. So I'm thinking about, for basketball really has been clearly the bonding force of your family. I think I read something about there's a famous text thread, the Janicki starting five. Mm-hmm. So basketball is about to start up. What's the vibe like on game day with Jack playing, like, real minutes? Who's the most vocal? Stacey, I've sat next to you. We've had times when we ain't saying nothing, like, we're just quiet. So tell me about the vibe in your family about when it's game day.
The Janicki starting five is really quiet on game day. In fact, we start a I think it's called a fearsome foursome. There's another that doesn't have Jack on it because we don't want to be more noise in his head.
Wow.
If he wants to reach out to us, usually what it is, Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, it's just usually, hey, good luck today. Just, you guys got this.
It's like I said, it's mostly me. I mean, I get it. I feel like if I was a parent, I'd try and do sort of the same thing. I think Dad will send me sort of a fire me up text before, like, 30 minutes before a game, and I'll read it. Yeah. And he knows I probably won't respond, but I'll read it and I'll go to warm up. And, I think it's just like, it's probably a lot of, I'm not going to try and speak for all four people in my family, but I'm sure it's probably a little bit of anxiety, which is natural, but I hope it's a lot of excitement on game days, and a lot. Try and have fun as hard as it probably could be sometimes.
Well, how about you, Stacy? You wearing you coach. I think I read you're coached by your dad, so coaching is in you. You played. You got your son on the floor, and I'm asking you this because I'm married into a very athletic family. Not just Glenn, but his uncle played in NFL, his cousin played in NFL, and I didn't have any of the sports in my family. We just went to school, right? And so for my family, we do something called watch and pray. Sometimes I can't watch Jonathan play. I'm out in the lobby like praying, and Glenn's calm and watching it. And so, and I think that's because he's played the game, and so he said, "You're going to win some, you're going to lose some," and it's for mommy that I want you to lose. I want you, So Stacy, for you, you're the parent, the coach, the professional. What's game day like for you?
I get nervous, but I also try not to say too much to Jack, because the surefire way to get him to shut up is to try to tell him what to do or ask him. Like he's getting that advice from coaches, and I just want him to know I'm supportive of him. It's like any of us, right? I think parents, you want your kid to play well, but more than anything, you want them to be happy. And so if I'm nervous during the game, it's because I'm worried about Jack's mindset after a game.
That's good. Yeah.
I honestly, Mom, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Dad may be the more nervous one now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He'll need some distractions during games now. So yeah.
Jack, crossword puzzles. I got him for Christmas some like New York Times crossword puzzle books. So those come on the road trips with us.
Yeah, it's tough. And I think you bring a good point up, Jack. I think seasons change, right? Like the dynamics may change, and maybe mom.
Yeah.
Sometimes
100%. Yeah. And I think my mom also coached both my older sisters for their entire youth career, and even coached me. So like she has a pretty good feel of when we're a little bit on edge, especially my oldest sister, who's quite often on edge, as she knows and as we love her for. It's definitely something, it's that motherly sort of sense that I can tell that she has. And if I'm having a sort of a down in the dumps day, she'll probably know before I even say anything to her.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I've said with Jack, and I've said it a couple times to him, and hopefully you sense, I think there's a humility to Jack, and I think he's definitely understood what his role is. But I've told him before, be careful of the narrative you tell yourself, because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if he's like, I'm just out there to help my guys, whatever my team needs from me, I'm like, his team need for him sometimes is to knock down some big shots or to take the ball to the basket, and kind of realize there's a reason he's out there. And if he just tells himself, my job is to go out there, not make a mistake, and help just be a facilitator, like he's probably leaving himself short. So it's like how you want to keep your kids set, their sights set on what's realistic, but also still like, setting the bar so they can kind of grow their role more with the team. And I think if you're a walk-on, it's important that that doesn't become a self-fulfilling prophecy that you're a 4-year Rudy, right? Because that's not it. Like, you
saw that, Jillian. Yeah.
You're not a team mascot. You're a player on this team that adds value. And to remember that.
Yeah.
I like that. And I'm gonna say this. I'm sorry, Jillian. It takes
you're good.
When my son played basketball with Jonathan, I was in the stands, almost ballistics when we would be at certain games, right? So in my mind, everything is not just, like you say, I'm here just a teammate. Even I was cutting up, and I got edge to me, y'all. I'm not as composed. My son has edge. He's a football player. He has an edge to himself, right? So I want to know, Stacy, you coached. You not only coached the girls, you saw Jack play. What is it in those moments when the games are close, and maybe when he was growing up, that you like, wait a minute, a ref did something out of order or wrong, or a player them fouled your baby? How does that feel? Because here's the thing. we are still mama bears. We can be as composed and when it's a tight game and we're looking to see who's going to win. Or the point, what I'm trying to make is we all have edge to us. You said something. He's not just a Rudy, right?
I love that.
So where is that bark in you and in Jack to say, when I'm out here, I'm sorry, you're not my friend today. I'm playing football, you are not my friend today. When we get off the field, I'll shake your hand. I love you, whatever, but we're not friends today. Where's that dog mentality? Do you got that, Jack? Stacey, I'm almost certain you do have it because you've coached.
Jack got it.
Where's that at? When does it come out?
Mom?
Well, I don't know. I mean, like, just Jack knows I'm as competitive as the next, but I don't
probably tell you more than she could.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't feel like I show it too much. I don't like it when people start getting cheap and like people risk getting hurt. But outside of that, I don't know, Jack. I feel like I'm fairly.
No, Mom, what I'll say about you is because you've been around basketball so long, you have a really easy time sort of dissecting what's going on. And it's hard for you to get overwhelmed in a basketball game setting. But I think the way you approach a lot of things just in your daily life is with a lot of, competitive intent and to do it to the very fullest. And it might not seem like, oh my gosh, she's a dog and she's very competitive and she's on edge, but she is. And she doesn't show it like that. Like, you're not working till 3 a.m. if you don't have a little edge to you. You're not running around the lake for 15 miles at 50 if you don't have edge to you. You don't work out for 3 hours a day and lift. Like, you have edge.
Jack
and it's just showed in different ways.
Last September, Jack was, or it was like, I can't remember. It was right before he went back to school. And Jack said, do you think it'd been like 18 years since I'd run a marathon? And Jack had said, do you think you could run a marathon without training? And I was like, okay, I want to show him I got that in me. And of course, the marathon was a month from that day he brought that up. And so I signed up. I told no one because I'm like, if I don't finish, I won't have like
right.
know about it. But I'm like, all right, challenge accepted.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you a dog. You would go ahead. And you know, we got some people on here. We got Mackenzie on here. Mackenzie said, "Yo, yeah, y'all know who that is." We also have Robert Glenn Blackwell on here. Hey, and my man Jack. So people are on here rooting you on, Jack, man.
I appreciate that. It's been great. Yeah.
I love it. I love my husband, I would say he's, and actually my oldest son that commented too, they're more like, I think they're kind of like you, Jack. You're kind of like the quiet storm. I don't have to talk about who I am. I just prove it on the court. My husband's the exact same way. We would be in conversations with people. We got a little older and they'll be talking about all this stuff. And I'm edging Flynn, like, are you going to say anything about like you played? He was like, no, I don't have to prove myself. And so what I get from you, Jack, is I don't have to prove myself. I have to talk. I prove it on the game. And you've certainly proven your worth. You've proven your game. And, one of the things that Jonathan says all the time is seed time harvest. And so if you planted the seed, you've given it some time, and now you're seeing the harvest of all the hard work that you put in. So
me and John are on obviously different journeys, but we're very similar in the way. We're driven, and that's why I was able to live with him for 2.5 years. He's very steady in his approach to getting better and doing it in a professional manner. And I'm happy that he committed in the same class as me, and he had good parents to get him here.
It's something about those parents, right? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. It is.
Yeah.
It is. Right. Well, you're going to say something, Erica?
Oh, no, I was going to say absolutely. You never have nothing to prove on the field because your talent will make room for you, and cream does rise to the top because you will see it and what's going out there. Like I see with you, you're going out there, you're going into your 3rd year, and you are making moves at Wisconsin. So congratulations to that.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So we're wrapping it up. I just have, I think we have 2 more questions. I'll ask this question, and Erica, if you can ask the final one. And it's to both of you. It's right. It's like Stacey and Jack. What would you say will be the one thing about this journey that neither of you expected, but that was like really surprised you in the best way?
What do you think,
Mom?
Jack? Well,
I can start.
Yeah, you start.
I think you know, when I came to school, the transfer portal was a thing, obviously, but you know, for 2 off seasons now, I've had to say goodbye to 10 friends and say hello to 10 new ones. And although that really has nothing to do with sort of, you know, the way I approach things, I think really the most important job for me this summer, beyond, you know, getting a better jump shot and improving my skill, like always, is making sure that these guys can come together on the court, off the court, in the locker room. As a junior now, and as honest, like the longest tenured player here with Nolan and John, it's how can we get these guys to connect so that we can face adversity together. So I think that as a leadership role has been sort of a surprise to me this quickly, just because I didn't really know the landscape that I was signing up for. So that would be my one sort of curveball that I've been thrown at in my college career, is like, man, I've had so many of my best friends almost leave after a year of knowing them, and somehow I seem to make new ones every year. So I wouldn't say it's a good or bad thing, but it's definitely it's a challenge.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. Stacey?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess the thing most surprising is how close you become with the other families. That's been great. And then I would just say, you know, just trusting Jack in this process. I think, like I said, in many ways, he had it figured out more than maybe my husband and I did. And I think you've really got to trust your kids' instincts, because they're the ones that are going to have to live with their decisions. So
that's good.
I'm glad there's been a lot of moments where it's so clear Jack landed in the right spot that I'm glad we didn't make that decision for him or try to influence it, and let him just kind of decide for him.
Yeah.
Well, that's so good for parents. Again, you know, that I think that's the tough part for parents. You know, we've referenced through this call, we've called you kid at times, Jack, but you are certainly not a kid. You're a man. And you know, I think I think that sometimes that's the most difficult for us to do.
100%.
Yeah.
I think my last question I would like to have for Jack and Stacey is, in one word, how would you describe your experience at the University of Wisconsin?
Let's make it a good word then.
Absolutely.
I would say it's been 2 words. Can I get 2 words?
Sure.
Go right ahead.
I would say it's been worth it.
I love that.
I love that
I love it. Yeah.
What about you, Stacey?
Yeah, I think that's the same theme you've gotten from this whole podcast. I'm gonna say something similar, but one word, which is just progress. Right? It's a word of progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. Well, I'm certainly looking forward to hanging out with you guys soon in Wisconsin and putting we changed we see, we tried to add red to the screen today.
I see that.
She did, and I saw Erica. Sometimes she struggled when we're not talking about University of Michigan, so she didn't struggle today.
Go blue? Did you say? No.
I just go blue. Right.
That's the only thing I know. That's all that comes out now.
That's it. She bleeds blue. And so Jack and Stacey, thank you so much for agreeing to hang out with us and coming to the huddle. We're excited. Again, this idea was birthed of the fact that this new landscape of collegiate sports is so different. And so our goal is, as we're learning, as we're sharing our stories, we have somewhat of a support system, some of ways in which we bring professionals in to educate parents through this journey, whether it's NIL, analytics, marketing, whatever it is we can do. We try to bring not only professionals, players, but also parents to have the conversation about what it is in this new landscape of college sports. So thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you so much for having me on. I had a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Most able to talk to Jack in a long time. It was fun.
I know.
Yeah, and that's good. And Jack, you do seem like you're a charmer. I see it. You got a nice smile. I'm looking at the eyes.
Beautiful smile. Beautiful smile.
Hair. you're such a handsome young man. I wish you the best in your season. I pray that you do
Yeah.
well, that you and your team do well this year, and that sky's the limit. Well, not the sky, actually, beyond the sky, there's a universe beyond it. So you can go beyond that as well, Jack. Okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Stacy.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right, bye guys. Thank you. Thanks for hanging out.
Oh man,
that was good.
Yeah, that was really good. I am just so excited about you guys' season. Now, when I watch Jonathan, I'm gonna be looking for Jack out there on the floor because I done personally saw Jack and interviewed him. You know,
he's a quiet storm. He's had a great year coming, and he had a great season last year, and so I can't wait to see them play.
I can't either, because, you know, to watch these young men journeys go from, like, especially for his journey from a walk-on, then he redshirted or whatever he had through his journey. And then now he's playing, and now he has a scholarship. He's got an NIL deal. So that's huge. And that's the beauty about, you know, just because you're a walk-on does not mean that you can't contribute, does not mean that you have no value. Your value is just as someone that does have a scholarship or that is recruited at that level, because several weeks in the next several weeks, we are going to have one of the young men from the University of Michigan, Jalen Hoffman, and him and his mom come and talk about that experience. But just listening to his experience, that's beautiful. I mean, it was no better than that.
Yeah, and I love what Stacy said, is that you're not a 4-year. What was it? A rah-rah? What did she say? You're not.
She was pretty much saying, I know what she was saying. Rooting, like, you're not just sitting there rooting everybody else on like a cheerleader, dude. You have what you have on the inside of you, as well as you root. It's great that you want to root on your teammates, and you should. You shouldn't have this mentality, but you're not just going to be sitting up here rooting everybody else on and feeling, you know, you're going to get out there and do what you're doing. And that's what he's doing.
Yeah. And you also see the beauty of having parents who have played the sport and know the game, that's not emotional.
Understands it.
Yes. And can go with you through the ebbs and flows. Again, I didn't play sports, so sometimes I might be more sensitive. I might take things a little bit more personal. But I also have that balance of my husband and my boys. They're like, Mom, calm down. It's going to be okay.
But you know, the good thing, I like people being authentically them. You don't have to fake who you are or who you're not. If you're the parent that is composed at a game, great for you. But if you're that parent that has that passion and that fire, kind of like my husband and maybe at times myself, it doesn't mean that there's something there that's out of whack, but it just means that you're passionate about what it is your kid is doing. You're passionate about the process, but you're being you. And that's you're authentic. You're authentically you. Nobody likes the fakeness of things. You want to be authentically you as a parent. And that's why we're in the huddle. No parent stands alone. Whether you a wacky parent that we got to tell, sit down somewhere, or you're the parent that, wait a minute, you ain't said nothing and your kid done got eight touchdowns. You good? Right, yeah, I'm good. I just don't know what to say. So it's that's just what we are. That's the landscape that we're in. So I do too. But we are at a point, Jillian, we're making it to our special moments, right? We are now about to do the legal tip. Jillian, I don't know what we were talking about today prior to us taking this, but you was bringing up, what were we talking about? You talked about someone illegally gambling.
Yeah, we won't mention the name, but there was made in the news today. Today is Monday, June 30th. So if you Google it, there was an athlete who plays basketball that he is being investigated for I think he was, betting on the sport, and so that's illegal. So hopefully he did not do that, but he's currently being investigated.
And you know what? That's something that can definitely hurt any athlete. So the legal tip today, I want to let everyone know. Newsflash: if you don't know, it's illegal for you to bet on sports. Period. Especially if you are in the NCAA, if you're in college, the NFL, NBA, you cannot. They have actually a zero tolerance policy. What I see the University of Michigan do every, I want to say maybe 3 to 6 months, they'll send something out and they'll ask you the question, have you illegally betted on any game? Have anyone, a third party, betted on your behalf? They hold the boys accountable by sending an email, and they have to answer the questions. And see, here's the thing. Not only the NCAA rule is you can't bet on any NCAA sport, even if it's not your sports. Here's the penalty for that.
Whoa.
Loss of eligibility, suspensions, or even a criminal charge.
Ooh,
okay. And some of the things that people do too, and I want people to understand too, you cannot share inside information to give someone an illegal edge in order to bet. Meaning, if you're sharing injury reports, team strategies, or even who's not playing to a family friend or family member, you can be charged with gambling fraud. Even if you're texting or joking about a game outcome, it can be used as evidence.
That's crazy.
The legal tip for today is for kids to understand: do not lose and drop the bag or fumble your bag or whatever it is out here, because it's not worth you trying to bet on the game to win the pennies when you're already out here probably getting paid very good money. So the legal tip is do not bet on games. It's illegal. And know that it's illegal. And don't try to do a backdoor by going through a third party.
Don't gamble your future away.
Absolutely.
And listen, another thing that we talked about is, and don't be around people, your friends, your family. You can't, you're guilty by association. So thank you for that. Thank you for that, Erica.
That's the legal tip with Erica.
Thank you. So now it's time for Moms in the Huddle marketing moment, because talent opens doors, but the proper marketing keeps them open. So this week's marketing moment is create your signature stamp, a logo or a hashtag. So, so athletes and parents, I want you to, again, I always ask you to lean in for a second. So I want to talk about something that's real simple. I try to bring these marketing moments and make them real simple, but they're super powerful. So when it comes to building your athlete's personal brand, I like what Stacey talked about is that, when you say certain things out loud, well, I'm just here to support my team. That's you're prophesying what you're going to do. So you're just going to be that cheerleader. No, you need to say things that are super powerful about yourself. And you can also do that in a personal logo or hashtag. And so why does this matter? So whether you are an athlete and you're hoping for an NIL deal, or you're just trying to stand out with the coach doing recruiting, or even when you're wanting to grow your following on social media, a personal stamp, like where you're leaving your mark, like a logo or hashtag, can make things memorable. You want to be memorable. I have a girlfriend who says, like, if somebody comes into your presence and you don't remember them because they weren't memorable. And so
you don't remember them.
Right. You don't remember them because you weren't memorable. So we want to make sure that you have a personal stamp, and a personal stamp can be in the form of a logo or hashtag. So think about big brands. Nike, just do it. Everybody knows that. McDonald's, I'm loving it. Subway, Eat Fresh. As an athlete, you have a brand too, whether you know it or not. People are talking about you. You're saying things about yourself, and you're making yourself a brand. So here's a real life example. We just had Jack on the call. So let's talk about Jack for a second. So he could roll with something like hashtag Jack in action. Like after a perfect game, clips, video training, or even locker room moments, every time he posts something, his hashtag is Jack in action. Every time he posts. So he's going to be consistent with that. And so maybe it's even something like, stay the course. We talked about Jack staying the course. So he could take that hashtag. And so every time he's doing something, it follows him and it fits with his walk and his Redshirt journey. I'm staying the course. I'm focused. And so if you're a kid, for example, if you are fast on a football field like Shamaj, speed kills, and his number. What's his new number? Shamaj?
0.
Yeah, hashtag speed kills 0. And so you want to do that. So here's some action steps you could take this week. Sit down together with your parent or someone you want to brainstorm, and brainstorm on one simple, memorable hashtag or tagline that reflects your style, your mindset, or your journey. What's your style? What's your mindset? How do you think? And what's your journey? So once you have that, You got to be consistently using it. So you use it on game days, you use it after big plays, you use it in your highlight caption, you use it in your stories. And so what you want to do is you want to create. I don't really spend a lot of time on logos, because logos you can go on. If you don't know anything about Canva, here's a bonus tip. You can go on canva.com. It's free. You can start designing your logo, but hashtags are really simple because you're posting anyway. Hashtag Jill Talk. Hashtag Moms in the Huddle. So every time someone looks for you and looks for a hashtag, they can follow you and find out more. So that's the final takeaway. Pick your personal hashtag or logo. Start stamping it on your story. Make sure you leave the imprint. You're memorable, because when it's time for coaches, recruiters, or brands to remember your athlete, you want them to remember your name and your brand.
Wow,
That's
I like
it.
that.
The Moms in the Huddle moment.
When I think about Jack, I think about earned, not given.
That part. Yes.
That part. This young man earned it. It wasn't given.
Yes, he did. It was not given to him.
Yeah.
And he got that. And I love, again, Stacey and I have hung out at games, but I think this conversation really allowed me to see her background and why she's sometimes calm on the stand. And I'm nervous because she's been there, and she's, she talked about, yes, the tough love that she's given her kids. Like, you got to work hard, and they have. And we didn't even talk about academics. He's a good student, right? So he's not just this, he's like your son, very academically focused, and also
in his major. He's like a finance major. And
I love it.
Matter of fact, tomorrow I'm going to go and sit with some top real estate agents. It's like, wow, what?
Love that.
That's 19, 20 years old is talking about going into a real estate agent wherever, and then sitting with them
and shadow.
And here's the thing, sponging it. You get what I'm saying? He's taking it in now to where it's going to help his future and beyond basketball.
Absolutely. And and you see, I told him, drag your roommate with you. Drag your roommate with you.
No, but it got to be in him though, Jillian. If he don't want to do it, and he just like, okay.
Hey, but listen, but sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And that's important to just be in the settings. One of the things that Reggie McKenzie says all the time is that, 80% is showing up. And sometimes if you're just in the space and being like, wow, I didn't even know that. I didn't know I wanted to be in technology until I was in the spaces of technology. And I've been in technology most of my career. So sometimes it's just getting in an environment and getting educated.
And hanging around those that are doing it.
That part right
that's
there.
What it is. Jack said, I'm going around those that are doing it. And we're going to bring Jonathan too. So Jonathan can understand, even if you just hanging around him.
Yes. And keep in mind that was advice from his mom.
Exactly.
His mom said, this is what I need you to do next year. She put that in his ear, and he took action. So Jack now needs to put that in other student athletes' ear. Here's what I'm doing. And again, you can certainly get the information for yourself, get educated. They say, let me tell you what I know. But yeah, this was good. Yeah. This was really good. It was good to hang out with another Badger family.
I know, right? You brought them on, and we hung out with them. And I like the authenticity of the speaking, of talking, of candidly talking. And moms just getting out their hearts. She got her heart out well. So, Jillian, we've come to that moment.
What's coming up next? What's next? What's our next show?
Well, next week is the 7th. I think the 7th. We're actually going to have the track star Kayla Jackson, her dad and her mom on. She goes to the University of Georgia. She's a big time track star. She was one of the fastest girls in Michigan. I believe she's on the track to go to the Olympics. I believe that that's where her journey is going to be. She is really fast. So I'm excited to talk with them and their family about track. So we're not talking about football, guys, or basketball.
I love it.
We're going to be talking about track next
week.
We're
talking to a girl. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I know, right? And see, that's where we're going to bring different shows to you. And if you athlete out there and you say, I want my story told, always go to our website, go to some of our social media, inbox us, reach out to us. We would love to share your story. You may have a unique story in a different sport, or you're in a huddle in other huddles, other sports other than the sports that we bring on here. Go and let us know what your story is. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So this was great. I'm looking forward to next what is it? 7725. That's our next
725.
episode 11. Wonderful.
Wow, already, Jillian, we're doing good.
Ooh, we are. We are. All
Because we
right.
moms in the huddle.
Where they at in the
In
huddle?
the huddle. Moms in the huddle. Where they at?
Where they at in the huddle? Moms in the huddle. Where they at in the huddle?
Oh, that's the anthem. Get them hands up. Hey.
Hey.
See you next week. Have a great rest of your week. God bless.
God bless.